No one in the dusty outskirts of Kalgoorlie expected the filthy, exhausted man sitting beside the convenience store to be worth more than entire towns, and certainly Lauren didn't when she stepped out of her small hatchback holding 2 grocery bags and saw him blocking her path as if the world owed him something. She tightened her grip on the handles, her work uniform wrinkled from another 10-hour shift at the local diner, her hair tied back in a messy bun because she no longer had the energy to look the way she used to. The man looked up at her with tired eyes half hidden beneath mud and dust, his clothes torn, his beard untrimmed, and he murmured, "Miss, could you spare something to eat?" Lauren froze, her heart immediately twisting with the kind of empathy she tried so hard to protect from being used against her. "Look, I don't have money to give away," she said softly, "but I can get you something from inside." The man nodded slowly, as if the simple kindness meant more than she could understand. But before she could take a step toward the store entrance, a group of miners walking by snickered loudly. "Careful, Lauren," one of them shouted. "These blokes pretend to be broke, then rob you behind the bins." Another added, "Probably drunk off cheap bottles, and now wants your paycheck too." Their laughter echoed across the parking lot, humiliating her, even though she wasn't the one being mocked. The beggar didn't move, didn't defend himself, didn't say a word. He simply watched her, quietly, almost apologetically, and somehow that made the whole thing worse. Lauren exhaled, swallowing her embarrassment. "Ignore them," she muttered. "They think everything's a joke." The man nodded once, still silent. She bought him a hot pie and a bottle of water, then returned and handed them over. But when he tried to thank her, she stepped back instinctively, no longer trusting anyone. "Just take care, okay?" she said, avoiding his eyes as she hurried toward her car. She didn't see the way he watched her leave. She didn't see the strange mixture of gratitude and something deeper, something quietly observant, lingering behind the dirt on his face. She didn't know she had just walked away from Liam Carraway, the most feared and secretly influential mining tycoon in Western Australia. A man who owned entire drilling companies, processing plants and iron deposits, stretching from the Pilbara to the Nullarbor. A man who had vanished from the public eye 3 months earlier after a corporate betrayal inside his own boardroom. A man now living under disguise as he hunted the traitors who had stolen millions from his operations, and she had just rejected him with a politeness that felt like a knife softened by kindness. Lauren drove home unaware that her life had just collided with a storm powerful enough to reshape everything she thought she knew about wealth, loyalty, and the danger of misjudging a stranger. What she also didn't know, what she couldn't possibly imagine, was that in less than 48 hours she would walk into a mining company office for a job interview, only to find the beggar sitting behind the CEO's desk, wearing a suit worth more than her entire yearly salary, and looking at her like he had been waiting for her from the moment she placed that warm pie in his hands. Liam didn't sleep that night. He sat on the thin mattress in the run-down motel room he'd been using as his hideout, the pie wrapper folded neatly beside him, like some fragile reminder that genuine kindness still existed in places no one looked twice at. He kept replaying the moment Lauren stepped back from him, not out of disgust but out of exhaustion, fear and a lifetime of being disappointed by people who took more than they ever gave. He recognized that look. He had seen it in the mirror after his own board had stabbed him in the back, but what he couldn't understand was why her rejection stung in a way nothing else had. Maybe because she didn't know who he was, maybe because she treated him better than the men who pretended to respect him in suits worth thousands, maybe because she looked at him like he wasn't invisible, but she still walked away as if saving herself was more important than anything he wanted. By morning, Liam's disguise was gone. The beard trimmed, the clothes replaced with a tailored navy suit, the dirt scrubbed from his skin until the man in the mirror looked like the Liam Carraway the mining world whispered about, with a mixture of fear and admiration. When he stepped into the private jet hangar, his security team froze in shock, not because he was back, but because the fire in his eyes was something they had never seen before. "Sir," his head of security said carefully. "Is it time?" "It's past time," Liam replied, tightening his cuffs. "Send a message to every director. Board meeting. Immediate." Within hours, the entire Perth headquarters was in chaos. Executives ran through hallways, phones vibrating non-stop, assistants whispering rumors about the CEO's sudden return. Some feared it, some prayed it was false. And three of them, the traitors who had drained millions through forged contracts, were already packing their offices before Liam even arrived. But Lauren didn't know any of this. She stood outside the glass tower of Caraway Mining Limited, clutching her cheap handbag, rereading the interview email for the 5th time. She needed this job. She needed something stable before she lost her apartment, before everything fell apart. As she walked through the rotating doors, her shoes squeaked slightly. A small nervous sound in an office that smelled like expensive cologne, polished floors, and people with salaries she couldn't imagine. The receptionist smiled professionally. "Good morning. Interview for administrative assistant." Lauren nodded. "Lift to level 30. Mr. Caraway will see you shortly." Her stomach twisted. Caraway. The name everyone in Western Australia knew. The name spoken with either envy or fear. She had no idea she was about to meet him face to face. No idea he had walked the same streets she had yesterday. No idea he had sat in the dirt while she bought him a pie with the last $20 she could spare. But Liam knew. He sat behind his massive glass desk, watching the live camera feed as she stepped into the lift. His expression didn't change, but something in his chest tightened, as if the same woman who walked past him yesterday had somehow walked directly into his fate. "Sir," his assistant said, "the applicant from Kalgoorlie is on her way up." Liam didn't respond immediately. He simply straightened his tie, took a slow breath, and forced the world back into the controlled calm of a billionaire who never allowed emotion to show. "Send her in when she arrives," he finally said. But when the elevator dinged on level 30 and Lauren stepped onto the marble floor, her breath caught in her throat. A dozen employees paused mid-task to stare. Not because she looked strange, but because she didn't belong to their world and they could smell it. Her clothes weren't tailored, her shoes weren't new, her hair wasn't professionally styled. She held herself together with determination alone. When she stood at the doorway to the CEO's office, the assistant pushed the door open. "Miss Dawson for you, sir." Lauren stepped inside and froze. The man behind the desk looked up slowly. Clean, powerful, immaculate. But those eyes, she knew those eyes. Her mouth parted in shock, her pulse skyrocketing. Liam didn't smile, didn't blink, didn't soften. He simply said, in a calm voice that filled the room like thunder rolling across iron-rich earth, "Hello, Lauren." And she realized with horror and disbelief that the beggar she had rejected yesterday was now the man deciding her future. Lauren's fingers tightened around the strap of her handbag so hard her knuckles turned white. Her mind scrambled to make sense of what she was seeing, the same eyes, the same voice, but everything else was different. Yesterday he was slumped against a wall in torn clothes, speaking softly like a man trying not to take up space. Today he sat in a leather chair that cost more than her entire yearly rent, commanding the room with the composed confidence of someone who knew he controlled everything in it. Her heart thudded against her ribs. She swallowed hard. I think there's been a mistake," she whispered. "No," Liam replied, his expression unreadable. "There hasn't." She felt heat rise in her chest, embarrassment, confusion, a pinch of anger at the thought that he might be mocking her. Why were you outside that store yesterday?" she breathed, unable to stop herself. Liam leaned back slowly, studying her with the unsettling calm of a man who rarely had to explain himself. "Because sometimes," he said quietly, "you learn more from the world when you sit where no one expects you to." The answer sent a chill down her spine. He gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit." She hesitated. Something inside her screamed that walking out would save her from humiliation. But another part, the part that had fought through too many struggles to run now, forced her feet forward. She sat. The desk between them felt like a thin shield. He rested his elbows lightly on the armrests, not breaking eye contact. "You bought a stranger a meal," he said. "Most people wouldn't." Lauren felt her face warm. "I didn't do it for praise." "I know," he replied. That's why it mattered. She didn't know what to say. She hated how exposed she felt under his gaze, like he saw everything, her exhaustion, her fear, her hope. "Why did you ask me to come here?" she asked quietly. Liam tapped a finger once against the desk, a subtle sign of deliberation. "Your resume shows potential," he said. "Not in the usual sense. It's full of gaps, odd jobs, unpaid responsibilities, but each one requires endurance, adaptability, the ability to deal with difficult situations." He paused. "Which, in my world, is worth more than any degree." Lauren let out a small, humorless breath. "Most companies would laugh at my resume." "Then most companies are idiots," he said plainly. Her eyes widened slightly. Liam looked at her with something almost like honesty, his usual coldness loosening around the edges. "You have something my directors don't, something money can't buy." She waited. "Humility," he said. "And strength that isn't loud." She shook her head lightly. "I don't understand. Why me?" Liam leaned forward, and the air between them tightened as if gravity itself shifted. "Because you looked at me," he said. "Not at what I seemed to be." Her pulse fluttered at the intensity of his tone. He softened it deliberately. "But let's be clear," he added. "This is still a job interview. You'll earn your position like anyone else." She nodded quickly, relieved to have something normal to hold on to. "Yes, of course." Liam watched her closely, then opened a folder on his desk. "Before we begin," he said, "I need to ask you one question." She tensed. "Did you tell anyone what you saw yesterday?" "No," she said immediately. I didn't even know who you were." Liam's jaw relaxed, just slightly. "Good. Why?" she asked. His gaze sharpened. "Because if certain people knew where I was yesterday, I wouldn't be alive right now." Her stomach dropped. "I don't understand." "You don't need to," he replied. "Not yet." Before she could push further, the office door burst open and a senior board member stumbled inside with panic in his eyes. "Liam, we have a situation downstairs." The man froze when he saw Lauren sitting there. Liam didn't turn. His voice stayed calm, cold, dangerous. "Whatever the situation is," he said, "deal with it. But now." The board member's throat bobbed as he nodded and dashed out, the door slamming shut behind him. Lauren stared at Liam, her heartbeat climbing again. "What's happening?" He finally looked at her. Really looked at her. "Trouble," he said. "The kind that's been building for months." A beat of silence passed. Then he stood slowly like a storm rising over Western Australia's red soil. "And whether you intended to or not," he said as he stepped closer, "you've just walked straight into the center of it." Lauren's breath caught as Liam stepped closer, not threateningly, but with the weight of a man who had stopped hiding. A man who had decided in that exact moment that whatever came next would not touch her unless it passed through him first. His presence filled the room like the slow roll of an approaching thunderstorm, silent, but powerful enough to change the atmosphere with every step. "I don't understand," she whispered, her voice shaky, but steady enough to show she wasn't the kind of woman who collapsed under pressure. "Why would I be in the middle of anything?" Liam stopped just close enough for her to feel the quiet intensity radiating off him. "Because the people after me," he said, "don't leave loose ends. And yesterday you were a witness to something they can't afford anyone to know." Lauren blinked, her heartbeat loud in her ears. "I only bought you a pie." "Exactly." His eyes stayed locked on hers. "And that small act of kindness made you noticeable." She swallowed hard. "Noticeable to who?" He opened his mouth. But then a sudden sound from the hallway made him lift his head sharply. Heavy footsteps, rushed voices, something metallic clicking. His expression hardened instantly. "Get behind me," he murmured. Lauren froze. "What?" "Lauren," he said, lower now. "Move." Something in his tone, calm, controlled, absolute, made her obey without thinking. She stepped behind him just as the office door burst open again, this time not with a frantic employee but two suited men she didn't recognize. They didn't look like security. They didn't look like board members. They looked like the kind of men who never entered a room without a plan already in place. The first one smirked at Liam. "Caraway," he said, his voice oily with false warmth. "You really thought disappearing would solve your little financial problem?" Liam's jaw tightened. "You don't belong in my building." "Oh, but we do," the man replied, stepping further inside. "You cost very powerful people an obscene amount of money. They want answers, and we're here to collect them." The second man's eyes drifted to Lauren. "Who's the girl?" Liam didn't move an inch. "Not your concern." "Everything here is our concern," the man said, reaching into his jacket. Lauren gasped softly, stepping back, fear shooting through her chest like ice. Liam instantly moved, subtly shifting to keep himself between her and the men. The first intruder chuckled. "Relax, we're not here to kill anyone." Then he added almost lazily, "Unless we have to." Liam's voice dropped into a tone so cold, Lauren had never heard anything like it. "If you touch her, you won't make it out of this building." Both men laughed. Neither realized Liam wasn't bluffing, not even a little. "We just need a conversation," the leader said. "In private." Liam's answer was immediate. "I'm not going anywhere with you." "Then we'll take her instead." Lauren inhaled sharply. Liam's entire body shifted, no longer just a businessman, no longer the disguised wanderer she'd met outside the shop, but something far more dangerous, more calculating, more controlled. "Try," he said quietly. The air froze. The second man's hand slid further into his jacket, but before he could pull anything out, the office door flung open again, this time with force. 3 of Liam's private security agents stormed inside, dressed in black, armed and moving with the precision of people who had been waiting for this exact moment. In seconds, both intruders were disarmed, pinned against the wall, and handcuffed. The leader spat, "This isn't over, Caraway." Liam stepped forward. "It is for you. The people we work for are about to lose everything," Liam said calmly, "and they don't know it yet." The men were dragged out, shouting threats that echoed down the hallway until the sound faded completely. Only when the door shut did Lauren finally breathe. She leaned against the wall, trembling slightly. Liam turned to her, expression softening for the first time since the confrontation began. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "Just scared." His voice gentled. "Good. That means you're still thinking clearly." She looked up at him, eyes wide. "What is happening, Liam?" He let out a slow breath, heavy, tired, vulnerable for just a moment. "A war," he said. "One I didn't start, but one I intend to finish." Her throat tightened. "And me?" Liam stepped closer, his voice low, sincere. "You're the only part of this I didn't expect." She didn't know whether to run or stay. Whether he was danger or protection, whether she was lucky or doomed. But she knew one thing for certain, whatever was happening around Liam Caraway, she was already too deep to walk away. "Come with me," he said, opening the office door. "Where?" "Somewhere safe," he replied. Then he added softly, "For both of us." Lauren followed Liam through the silent executive hallway, her pulse still unsteady from what had just happened. She couldn't shake the image of those 2 men, calm, confident, and absolutely willing to take her if Liam refused to cooperate. The thought made her legs weak, but she kept moving. She didn't know where he was taking her. She didn't know why she trusted him enough to follow. But something deep in her gut, The same instinct that had made her buy him a pie told her he was the only person who could keep her safe in whatever mess she had walked into. Liam pressed a button on the private lift, one without labels or floor numbers. The doors slid open silently. "After you," he said. She hesitated. "Liam, what if this is a mistake?" He looked at her with a calm certainty that made her breath catch. "The only mistake would be staying where people can reach you." She stepped inside. He followed. The doors closed. The moment the lift began to descend, Lauren gripped the railing. "Is this really necessary?" Liam turned his head slightly toward her. "Those men weren't here by accident. Someone tipped them off, someone inside this building." Her heart dropped. "So you're being betrayed from the inside." "I was betrayed months ago," he said simply. "This is just the fallout." The lift moved deeper, far below the regular office floors. Finally, it opened into a private underground garage, sleek and empty, lit with dim blue security lights. In the center sat a black Land Cruiser with tinted windows, the kind of car used by politicians, billionaires, and people who weren't meant to be followed. Liam gestured for her to get in. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Somewhere no one will look for us," he said, starting the engine as soon as she closed the door. They drove in silence for several minutes, exiting through a hidden ramp that blended with a side street. Only once they were moving through the outskirts of the city did Lauren finally speak again. "Liam, who exactly is after you?" He kept his eyes on the road. "Former associates. People who used my name, my reputation, and my trust to steal millions. When I confronted them, they made sure I disappeared. But you're not dead. Only because I don't die easily." She looked at him, the sharp edges of his profile lit by passing streetlights. He looked like a man who had survived things people didn't talk about. "And yesterday," she asked softly, "why were you dressed like that?" Liam exhaled. "To see who would target me once they believed I had fallen. I needed to know where the threats were coming from, but you—" He glanced at her for a brief moment. "You were the only part of the day I wasn't planning." Her chest tightened. "I didn't do anything special." "That's exactly what made it special." She stared out the window, unable to steady the strange mixture of fear and warmth blooming inside her. Eventually, the city lights faded into open road. Liam drove toward the red dust horizon of Western Australia, like a man who knew every turn by heart. After nearly an hour of silence broken only by the hum of the engine, a secluded property came into view. A modern, sprawling ranch-style home hidden behind tall iron gates, the kind of place designed for one purpose: privacy. "You live here?" Lauren asked. "No," Liam replied. "This is one of my safe houses." The gates opened automatically. He drove up a long gravel driveway until the house loomed before them, dark glass reflecting the rising moon. "It's secure," he said. "No one knows about it. Not even most of my staff." Lauren stepped out of the car, nerves raw. "Liam, am I in danger because of you?" He walked around the vehicle and stopped in front of her, not close enough to touch her, just close enough that she could feel his sincerity. "You're in danger because you helped the wrong man at the wrong time," he said gently, "but I won't let them get to you." "Why?" she whispered. A long silence. Then he answered in a way that felt too honest for a man who usually spoke in controlled fragments. "Because yesterday, when you looked at me, you saw a person, not a problem, not a threat, not a burden." His voice softened. "And no one's done that for me in a long time." Lauren swallowed, overwhelmed by the rawness in his tone. "What happens now?" she asked. Liam stepped aside and opened the door to the safe house. "Now," he said, "you stay here tonight. You rest." "You think? And you?" He hesitated at the doorway, the shadows framing him like a man caught between two worlds. "I'll be nearby," he said, "because I have things to deal with in the morning." She took a slow breath. "Will you come back?" Liam gave her a look that felt like a promise. I won't leave you alone in this. Lauren stepped inside. Liam followed. And for the first time, both of them understood they had crossed a line neither could return from. Lauren entered the safe house slowly, her footsteps tentative on the polished concrete floor as she took in the vast open space, the floor-to-ceiling windows, the quiet hum of electricity that filled the silence. Everything felt foreign, too clean, too expensive, like she had accidentally stepped into someone else's life. Liam closed the door behind them, with a soft click that echoed louder in her chest than it did in the room. For a moment he said nothing, simply watching her with eyes that seemed to read every emotion she tried to hide. "You're shivering," he said quietly. She wrapped her arms around herself. "It's not cold, I'm just overwhelmed." "Understandably." He walked past her, loosening his tie with one hand as he entered the kitchen, opening a cupboard stocked with supplies. He pulled out a glass and filled it with water. "Drink," he said, handing it to her. She hesitated, then took it. Her hands were trembling. He noticed. "Sit," he murmured, gesturing to the couch. She obeyed, lowering herself slowly as if afraid she'd break something. Liam remained standing, leaning against the kitchen bench with folded arms, watching her with the focus of a man who never let his guard down, but somehow had let it down for her. "Liam," she whispered, "those men today, who sent them? People who want my company, my assets, my life." His voice was calm but edged with something darker, something controlled, something lethal. "They stole from me. I confronted them. They retaliated. So they want you dead?" He didn't flinch. "Yes." Her breath caught. "And me?" "Collateral," he said softly. "If they think you know anything, you become leverage." The words sank into her like ice. She set the glass down carefully, afraid she might drop it. "I don't belong in your world," she whispered. "I was just trying to get through a shift, buy groceries, pay rent. I don't understand any of this." Liam pushed away from the bench and walked toward her slowly, each step measured. When he reached her, he crouched down so they were eye level. "You're right," he said. "You don't belong in my world." Her heart faltered until he added, "That's exactly why I'm protecting you." She didn't know how to respond. His closeness unsettled her in ways she didn't have words for, dangerously safe, strangely familiar, painfully intense. "I never asked for this," she whispered. "I know," he said quietly, "and I won't force you into anything. But you need to trust me for the next 24 hours. "Why 24? "Because tomorrow," he said, standing again, "I end this." Lauren stared up at him. "How?" "By dragging the people who betrayed me into the light. Publicly. Legally. Brutally." He moved to the large table near the window and opened a laptop, its screen glowing with encrypted files and documents filled with signatures, bank transfers, and photos of men she didn't recognize. "What is that?" she asked. "Everything I need to destroy them." He scrolled through more files, voice recordings, surveillance footage, scanned contracts. "They think I disappeared. They think I'm vulnerable. They think they can control what's left of my empire." He lifted his eyes to hers. Tomorrow they learned they were wrong. Lauren felt the weight of what he was saying, felt the shift in his energy, the quiet storm brewing behind his careful restraint. "And what do I do?" she whispered. "You stay here," he said. "Doors locked, security armed. You don't speak to anyone but me." She nodded, though fear still twisted inside her. "Liam, will you be okay?" He paused for a long moment, surprised by the question. Most people asked what he could do for them, not whether he would return alive. His voice softened. "I intend to be." He closed the laptop and stepped toward the hallway. "There's a guest room on the left. Food in the kitchen. If you need anything, call my private number." Lauren stood slowly. "You're leaving now?" Liam met her eyes with a look that felt like a promise wrapped in danger. "Not yet," he said. "But soon." She swallowed. "Will I see you in the morning?" A faint, barely noticeable smile touched his mouth. "You'll see me," he said, "when it's over." She watched him disappear down the hallway, and for the first time since meeting him, Lauren realized something terrifying, something undeniable. The beggar she had helped, the billionaire she had angered, the man now protecting her with a force she didn't understand, was becoming someone she didn't want to lose. Lauren remained standing in the quiet living room long after Liam disappeared down the hallway, her heartbeat still uneven, her thoughts tangled in confusion, fear, and something else she refused to name. The safe house was silent but not empty. It still carried the echo of his presence, the calm authority in his voice, the protective edge that felt impossibly out of place, coming from a man she'd met as a stranger sitting on the ground. She finally exhaled and walked toward the guest room, her fingers grazing the wall as if she needed to feel something solid to anchor herself. The room was simple but luxurious, crisp white sheets, soft lighting, a window overlooking endless open land stretching into the dark horizon. She sat on the bed, but her mind refused to rest. Every sound made her flinch. Every shadow made her wonder if someone had followed them. After nearly an hour of restless pacing, she gave up on pretending she could sleep and stepped quietly into the hallway. She expected the house to be dark. Instead, she found a soft glow coming from the study at the end of the corridor. The door was partially open. Liam was still there. She hesitated, unsure whether she should disturb him, but something pulled her forward. She reached the doorway silently. Liam stood with his back to her, sleeves rolled up, hands gripping the edge of the desk as he stared at a spread of documents illuminated by a single desk lamp. He looked nothing like the man she'd found outside the store. He looked like a commander preparing for war. His shoulders were tense, his jaw tight, his expression hollowed by months of betrayal. She didn't mean to speak. The words slipped out before she realized. Liam. He turned sharply, eyes flashing with instinct, but the moment he saw her, his expression softened. You should be resting. I can't, she admitted. Everything feels wrong. Liam straightened, his jaw unclenching slightly. Come here, he said quietly. She stepped inside slowly, drawn to him despite the fear swirling in her chest. Up close, she could see the fatigue etched into his face, the shadows under his eyes, the tension in every muscle. You look like you haven't slept in days, she said softly. I haven't, he replied. Not properly. She lowered her gaze to the papers on the desk. All of this, it's what they did to you. He nodded once. She touched a sheet gently. Dates, signatures, forged approvals. They stole everything. Not everything, Liam said. She looked up. His eyes were on her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Neither of them breathed. Then he broke the silence. You don't need to be part of this, he said. You didn't choose this danger. You didn't choose me. I didn't choose any of this, she whispered, but I'm here anyway. Liam inhaled slowly, as if her words reached a place he kept barred to the world. Lauren, I don't want you afraid. Too late, she said with a small, trembling laugh. I've been afraid since the moment those men walked into your office. You're safe here, Liam reassured her. No one knows about this house. No one can get past my security. She watched him for a moment, then asked the question she had been avoiding since they arrived. Why didn't you tell me who you were yesterday? Liam leaned back against the desk, considering. Because I needed to see how people treated me when I had nothing, he said. Because the people who smile in boardrooms are the same ones who sharpen knives behind your back. But I didn't do anything special, she said. I just gave you a meal. No, Liam replied. His voice dropped to something intimate, something raw. You gave me a reason to believe I wasn't surrounded by predators. Her breath caught. Liam! Before she could finish, a soft beep echoed from the security panel on the wall. Liam stiffened instantly, every trace of vulnerability vanishing as he straightened, shoulders tensing like steel. Stay behind me, he murmured. Is someone here? She whispered. Motion sensors, he said. Something outside. Her heart pounded. Is it them? We don't know yet. He crossed the room quickly, tapping the controls. A live camera feed flickered onto the screen, the front gate. At first, nothing. Just the dirt road, the moonlit field. Then, movement. A figure, walking, slowly, deliberately, alone. Lauren's breath froze. Liam, what is that? The figure stepped into the light, and the moment his face became clear, Liam's entire expression shifted. Not fear, not surprise. Something colder. Something final. It's one of them, he said. Lauren's pulse hammered. What do we do? Liam turned to her, eyes sharp as cut glass. You stay here. And you? I finish this, he said, his voice low and terrifyingly calm. Tonight. Lauren grabbed his arm before she could stop herself. Liam, don't go out there alone. He looked down at her hand, then into her eyes, and for a moment, the storm inside him quieted. I'm not alone, he said, because you gave me something to fight for. Then he gently removed her hand, stepped toward the door, and walked out into the night, toward the man who had come to destroy him. Toward the confrontation he had been avoiding for months, toward the moment that would decide everything. Liam walked out into the open night with the stillness of a man who had already buried his fear long ago, replaced now by a controlled and dangerous focus. The safe-house door shut behind him with a soft thud, and Lauren felt the sound ripple through her chest like the beginning of a storm she had no power to stop. She stayed frozen near the security panel, staring at the small screen as Liam stepped into view outside, his figure sharp against the moonlit gravel. The intruder waited near the gate, hands in his pockets as if he were out for a midnight stroll, instead of trespassing on the property of a man he had helped betray. The camera zoomed slightly, and Lauren recognized him from earlier, one of the men escorted out of Liam's office. He looked confident, too confident. Liam stopped a few meters away from him, feet planted firmly, shoulders squared. You're on private property, Liam said, his voice calm, steady, deadly. Leave, now. The man smirked, stepping forward just a little, but not enough to provoke immediate confrontation. Relax, Caraway, he said. I'm not here to shoot you. If I wanted to do that, you wouldn't have made it this far down the driveway. Lauren felt her stomach twist. She gripped the edge of the desk so tightly her knuckles turned white. What do you want? Liam asked. A conversation, the man replied. The others sent me. You're causing problems by coming back to life. Is that what I'm doing? Liam said softly. The intruder gave a slow shrug. You were supposed to stay gone. Everyone knows your company can't survive without you at the wheel. If you crawl back now, you'll ruin months of careful planning. Lauren felt her skin crawl. Planning. Planning his disappearance, planning the takeover, planning everything. Liam lifted his chin slightly. You stole from me, lied to my board, manipulated my stakeholders, tried to kill me more than once, and now you think walking onto my property without permission gives you a place at the negotiating table? Tried to kill me more than once, and now you think walking onto my property without permission gives you a place at the negotiating table? The intruder smirked. I think you're outnumbered. I think you're outmatched, Liam replied. The words cut the air like steel. The intruder chuckled. Look at you. New suit, big comeback, pretending the world didn't move on without you. But it did, Liam, and by this time tomorrow your empire will be dust. Funny, Liam said quietly. I could say the same about yours. The man stepped closer, and Lauren instinctively leaned closer to the screen, heart racing. Last chance, Liam, the intruder said. Walk away, stay gone. A man like you could live comfortably anywhere. But if you show your face publicly tomorrow, you won't survive long enough to enjoy the applause. Liam didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't blink. I'll take my chances, he murmured. The intruder's eyes narrowed. Have it your way. He turned as if to leave. But then, in one swift movement, he pivoted and reached inside his jacket. Lauren gasped. "Liam!" she cried out instinctively, even though he couldn't hear her. The intruder pulled something out. Not a gun. A phone. "Tomorrow afternoon," he said, "you'll receive a message, and everything you love will start burning from there." Liam's jaw tightened, the first crack in his calm. "What did you say?" "You heard me." The man pocketed the phone. "You think we didn't notice the girl?" Lauren's blood went cold. "No," Liam said sharply. "Leave her out of this." "Can't," the intruder replied. "We saw the footage. You brought her here." "That makes her part of the game." Lauren covered her mouth to keep from crying out. Liam stepped forward with a force that startled even the intruder. "Touch her," he said, "and you'll never see another sunrise." The intruder smirked again, a smirk hiding fear. "Then you'd better be ready to watch the world go to war with you." He turned and walked into the night, disappearing beyond the gate as silently as he had arrived. Liam stood there for a long moment without moving, his chest rising and falling slowly, controlled, dangerous. Lauren pressed her hand against the screen as if she could reach through it. "Please," she whispered, "please come back inside." As if he heard her, Liam finally turned, walking back toward the house with steady, deliberate steps. When he opened the door, Lauren was waiting for him in the hallway, eyes wide, breath shaky. He stopped a few steps in front of her. Neither spoke. Not at first. Then Liam said quietly but firmly, "You heard everything." Lauren nodded. "They're going to come after me." "They won't," Liam cut in. "Not while I'm alive." "Liam," she whispered, voice trembling, "what if you can't stop them?" Liam stepped closer, his voice low, certain, anchored in a promise he hadn't fully understood until this moment. "Then I'll die trying." Lauren felt tears prick her eyes, not from fear, but from the unbearable weight of how completely he meant it. The man she fed a warm pie to was now standing between her and a war, and she didn't know whether she wanted to run away or stay and fight beside him. Lauren stared at him, her breath trembling in her chest, unable to process the weight of his words. "Then I'll die trying." No one had ever said anything like that to her. No one had ever stood in front of her like a shield, ready to take on the world for her sake. Liam held her gaze, not with softness, but with a fierce, unflinching determination that made her stomach twist with fear and something she didn't want to name. When he finally stepped past her, heading back toward the study, she followed without even thinking. "Liam," she whispered, "you can't do this alone." He stopped but didn't turn around. "I've been doing this alone for months." "But you don't have to." Silence stretched between them like a drawn bow. Slowly, Liam turned. His face was tired, shadowed, but his eyes, they flickered with something she had never seen in him before. Vulnerability. "Lauren," he said quietly, "you don't understand what you're asking to be part of." "I understand enough," she said. "You're in danger, and so am I, and running from it won't make it disappear." He looked at her for a long moment, studying her, searching for any sign of fear that might convince him to push her away. But she didn't look away, didn't step back, didn't crumble. For the first time in a long time, someone met Liam Carraway's fear without flinching. He exhaled slowly. "Fine," he murmured. "Come in." She followed him into the study. The desk was scattered with documents, maps, photos of men she hadn't met, and detailed financial statements she didn't fully understand. "Sit," he said. She sat on the edge of the leather chair. Liam remained standing, leaning on the desk with both hands as if bracing himself. "There are 3 men," he began, "who orchestrated everything. The theft, the sabotage, the attempt on my life." Lauren's breath hitched. "The man outside was one of them?" "No," Liam said. "He was one of their tools." He pulled out a photo. A tall man in an expensive suit, cold smile, sharp eyes. "Sebastian Ward," Liam said. "My former CFO." He handled the financial part of the betrayal. Lauren looked at the photo. He looks cruel. Because he is. Liam set the photo aside and pulled another one, a broad-shouldered man with hard eyes. Nathan Crow, my ex-head of operations. He coordinated the sabotage across the mining sites. Why? Money, Liam said dryly. Control, greed, it's always the same story. Then he placed the last photo on the desk. A man older than the others, with grey hair and an expression twisted by arrogance. And him? Lauren asked. Liam's jaw tightened. Victor Sloan, he said. Chairman of the board. He wanted my company for years. I refused to sell. He decided to take it anyway. Lauren stared at the photo, a chill running down her spine. He looks like someone who would burn down a city just to stand on the ashes. Accurate, Liam said. Lauren swallowed. So all three of them want you dead? Yes. And they're not the kind of men who fail quietly, she said softly. Liam nodded. Exactly. He walked around the desk and finally sat across from her, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. I need to bring them down, he said. Legally, publicly, permanently. How? Liam leaned back and opened a secure folder. Inside were dozens of files. Evidence, he said. Everything they think they erased. Lauren reached for a document but hesitated. Can I? Yes, Liam said. Go ahead. She skimmed the papers. Fraudulent transfers, offshore accounts, forged signatures. Liam, she whispered, this is enough to put people in prison for life. That's the plan. She looked up at him. And tomorrow? Liam's eyes darkened. Tomorrow, I confront the board. The words hummed in the air with tension. In public, he added, at the annual shareholders' meeting. Lauren swallowed hard. Will they try to stop you? They'll try to kill me, he said bluntly. They've tried before. Lauren felt her chest tighten with fear, but also with a spark of anger she didn't expect. They can't get away with this, she said. Liam studied her, surprised. You sound certain. Because I've been pushed around my whole life, she said quietly. Used, ignored, forgotten. People like them, they think we're disposable. A flicker of something like respect warmed Liam's expression. We're not, she added. No, he agreed. We're not. He leaned forward. Tomorrow is the turning point. If I win, everything ends. And if you don't? He held her gaze, unblinking. Then you run, he said, and you don't look back. A beat of silence passed, heavy, suffocating, real. Liam, she whispered. He inhaled. Yes? I'm not running. His eyes softened in a way she had never seen before, a fracture in the armor he had built around himself. He stood slowly, offering her his hand. Then you should rest, he said. Tomorrow will be long. She looked at his hand, hesitated, then placed hers in his, warm, steady, safe. Liam helped her to her feet, and for a brief, fragile moment, they stood too close, too aware, too connected. He released her hand reluctantly. Good night, Lauren. Good night, Liam. She turned to leave, but before she reached the doorway, she glanced back. He was still watching her, as if memorizing her silhouette in the soft lamplight. She disappeared down the hallway. Liam exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. This can't get complicated, he whispered to himself. It already was. Lauren didn't sleep. She lay on the guest bed staring at the ceiling, the soft hum of the air conditioning impossibly loud in the silence. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the man at the gate, his smirk, his threat. We saw the footage. You brought her here. Her stomach twisted. She turned over, turned again. Nothing helped. Eventually she gave up and slipped quietly out of the room, barefoot, careful not to make noise on the polished floor. The house felt different in the dark, larger, more intimidating, shadows stretching like long fingers across the walls. She padded down the hallway toward the faint glow coming from the study. Liam was still awake. She could feel it. She hesitated outside the door before pushing it open, just enough to see inside. Liam sat at the desk, elbows on his knees, head bowed, hands tangled in his hair. He looked exhausted. Not physically. He had survived far worse, but emotionally worn in a way that broke something inside her. She stepped inside softly. "Liam?" His head snapped up instantly, his eyes sharp before softening when he saw her. "You should be resting." "You should be too." He leaned back in his chair with a tired exhale. "I've forgotten what resting feels like." She crossed the room slowly, unsure whether she should come closer. "Can't sleep?" he asked quietly. "Not really," she admitted. "Too much happened today." "I know," he murmured. "I'm sorry you were dragged into all of this." "I'm not," she said before she could think. Liam's brows lifted, surprised. She swallowed. "I mean, I wish it wasn't dangerous, but I'm not sorry I helped you." He studied her for a long moment, something unreadable passing behind his eyes. "Most people would be," he said softly. "Most people run when things get messy." "I've spent my whole life around mess," she replied. "People pretending to be things they're not. People hurting other people for selfish reasons. People taking advantage because they know you'll stay quiet." Her voice wavered. "I know what it feels like to be invisible." Liam's jaw clenched slightly, not at her, but at the idea of her being overlooked, dismissed, mistreated by anyone. "You're not invisible," he said. "Not to me." She looked down, heart pounding harder than she wanted to admit. He stood slowly, pushing away from the desk. "Walk with me," he said. She blinked. "Where?" "Just outside," he replied. "It's safe. The cameras are monitored, and the perimeter is electric." "Electric? Don't touch the fence." She huffed a tiny laugh despite herself. He held the door open for her. Lauren stepped out onto the back terrace, the night air cool and fragrant with eucalyptus. The sky stretched endlessly above them, scattered with bright stars unique to the Australian desert night. Liam stood beside her, hands in his pockets, shoulders stiff, gaze fixed on the horizon. "When I was a kid," he began quietly, "my father used to bring me out to places like this, away from the noise, away from the expectations." She turned toward him, surprised by his softness. "Your father?" "He was tough," Liam said. "But he believed in one thing. If you can't hear yourself think, you can't lead anyone else." Lauren wrapped her arms around herself. "Did he teach you to run a mining empire?" "He taught me to survive," Liam corrected. "Running the empire came later." She studied him in the moonlight, the controlled strength, the lingering exhaustion, the heavy weight of the world on his shoulders. "Liam," she whispered, "why did they try to kill you?" He didn't flinch. "Because I didn't let them steal what they wanted." "Control of your company?" "Control of Western Australia's most valuable mining corridor," he said. "Billions, influence, political power. The kind of leverage that makes governments listen." Lauren let out a slow breath. "They were willing to kill you for money." "People kill for far less," he said. She shivered. Liam noticed immediately. Without thinking, he shrugged off his jacket and placed it over her shoulders. The gesture was simple, but something about it sent a warmth through her chest she wasn't prepared for. "Thank you," she whispered. "I told you," he said softly. "I won't let anything happen to you." "You can't promise that," she murmured. "I just did." She looked up at him. He held her gaze. The world around them felt unnaturally still. The wind quieted. The leaves stopped rustling. Even the insects seemed to pause. Lauren swallowed. "Liam?" "Yes?" "What happens after tomorrow?" His expression shifted. Not cold, not guarded. Something else. Something almost hopeful. "After tomorrow," he said softly, "I get my life back." "And me?" she asked before fear could swallow the question. Liam's breath caught, just barely, but enough for her to see it. "You," he whispered, stepping just a fraction closer, "are not part of the war. But I am now." "Yes," he admitted, "you are." She held his gaze, her heartbeat trembling. "So what am I after it's over?" Liam stared at her with an intensity that made her chest ache. "Someone I should stay away from," he said quietly, "but won't." The confession hit her like a shock. She felt her breath freeze, her chest warm, her pulse jump, words caught in her throat. Before she could speak, Liam stepped back, only by an inch, forcing the moment to simmer instead of boil. "Go rest," he said softly. "Tomorrow, everything changes." She nodded slowly, eyes still locked with his. "Good night, Liam." "Good night, Lauren." She walked back inside. Liam stayed on the terrace, staring into the dark, knowing what he felt, what he was starting to feel, was the last thing he needed in the middle of a war. And yet he couldn't stop it. He didn't want to. Tomorrow would be the most dangerous day of his life, and for the first time he wasn't just fighting for his company, he was fighting for her. Lauren woke to the faint vibration of her phone on the bedside table. For a disoriented second, she didn't know where she was. The room was too elegant, too modern, too spacious to belong to the life she had lived just days ago. Then everything returned at once. The gate, the threat, Liam. She sat up quickly. A message flashed on the screen. "Unknown number. Be ready. They're coming faster than anticipated." Her pulse slammed into her ribs. She threw off the blanket and hurried into the hallway, only to collide with a solid, warm chest. Liam's hand steadied her instinctively. "Hey, easy," he murmured. "What happened?" She held up the phone. Liam snatched it from her, read it in a second, his jaw tightening. "We need to move." "Move where?" she asked, heart pounding. "Safe house," he said. "Now." He took her wrist, not roughly but urgently, guiding her through the hallway with swift, controlled strides. Lauren barely had time to slip on shoes before Liam led her into the garage. A sleek charcoal Range Rover waited with the engine already running. "Get in," he told her. She obeyed without hesitation. As soon as Liam slid into the driver's seat, he hit a button, closing the reinforced garage shutters behind them. The moment they drove out onto the long stone driveway, Lauren saw it, a black SUV parked far too close to the edge of the property. "Liam." "Ignore them," he murmured. "They won't try anything here, because of the electric fence, because they're being watched." Her confusion deepened, but she didn't have time to ask more. Liam drove fast, not reckless, but with a precision that spoke of someone accustomed to danger, someone who'd done this before. He glanced at her, his voice lower. "Lauren, I need you to stay as calm as you can. We're nearly clear." "Clear of what?" she whispered. "People who would do anything to stop me from exposing them." She swallowed. "This isn't just corporate sabotage, is it?" His silence was answer enough. "Liam, just trust me," he said softly. And she did. She didn't know why. Or maybe she did. Trust wasn't built by safety. It was built by who someone became when you were unsafe. And Liam had never once stepped back. He always stepped forward. They reached the highway, and the landscape opened into the vast red horizon of Western Australia. Sunlight poured through the windshield, turning everything gold, but the moment felt anything but peaceful. "Where is the safe house?" she asked. "Near Kalgoorlie." "In the hills," he said. "Former mining compound. Reinforced. Remote." The highway stretched endlessly in front of them. A few minutes passed, the silence heavy with tension neither dared break, until Lauren saw something in the rearview mirror. A black dot, then a shape, then a vehicle, then two. Liam. He didn't turn. He didn't have to. "I see them. They followed us." "Of course they did. What do we do?" "We stay ahead," he said. But the SUV behind them gained speed. Then the second one did too. Lauren's breath hitched. "Are they trying to force us off the road?" "Not yet," Liam said calmly. "They want to see where we're going." "Liam, I won't let them touch you," he said, voice low and unreadable. "Not ever." She gripped her seat. "I'm scared." "I know." His tone softened. "Hold on." He pressed the accelerator. The engine roared. The Range Rover shot forward, swallowing the road beneath them. The SUVs followed. The chase escalated with brutal speed, the wind whipping against the windows, the asphalt flashing by in streaks. Lauren grabbed the dashboard. "They're getting closer." "They won't catch us," Liam murmured, shifting gears with practiced precision. "Not here." "Why not?" "Because this is my land." He swerved suddenly, turning off the main road onto a dirt track she hadn't even seen. The tires skidded, the Range Rover sliding before finding grip. The SUVs overshot the road, struggling to turn as sharply. "Liam!" "Almost there," he murmured. The dirt track wound between tall shrubs and rocky outcroppings, narrow and harsh. The Range Rover ate through it with ease. The SUVs didn't. Dust clouds swallowed everything behind them. Lauren glanced back. "We lost them." "Not yet." But the SUVs had slowed significantly. One nearly clipped a rock formation trying to keep up. The second bottomed out on a sudden dip. Then the track curved, and the hills opened, revealing a small cluster of industrial buildings, old mining infrastructure, and a tall steel gate. Liam pressed a remote. The gate slid open. He drove through, and the moment they crossed the threshold, heavy metal doors slammed shut behind them. Lauren exhaled shakily. "Are we safe?" Liam finally turned to her. His expression softened, just a fraction. "For now." She wiped her palms on her jeans. "This is all so much. I don't understand how your life got to this point." He looked out the windshield toward the horizon. "It didn't get here," he said quietly. "It started here." She blinked. "What?" "This is where my father built the empire," Liam said. "Before the world knew his name. Before he became the man everyone feared and admired." Lauren's breath caught. "This place is where I learned everything," Liam murmured. "How to survive, how to fight, how to lose, how to win." She looked around, the rugged beauty, the abandoned mining structures, the echoes of history in every steel beam. "And now," she whispered, "why did you bring me here?" His eyes returned to hers. "Because this is the only place no one can get to you," he said softly. "And because I need you to understand the truth before everything breaks open." "What truth?" He stepped closer. "About them? The men who want you dead?" "Yes." "And about you." She swallowed. "What about you?" Liam held her gaze, steady, intense, unguarded for the first time. "That I'm not who you think I am." Her heart stopped. The world stilled. Her voice trembled. "Then, who are you, Liam?" He exhaled slowly, as if he'd been holding that breath for years. "I'm not just a mining heir, Lauren." He stepped closer, close enough that the cold desert air warmed between them. "I'm the man they've been trying to destroy for a decade." Her pulse hammered. "Why?" His voice dropped to a whisper. "Because I know the secret that can end them all." Her breath hitched. "What secret?" Liam leaned in. "And today," he murmured, "you're going to hear everything." Liam pulled Lauren deeper into the underground corridor, their footsteps echoing against the reinforced concrete as the alarms pulsed a steady red glow over the walls. She felt his grip tighten just slightly, not out of fear but out of certainty, as if no matter what waited ahead, he had already decided he would rather die than let anything happen to her. The corridor opened into a vast bunker-like room filled with metal crates, surveillance screens, and the hushed electricity of a place built to withstand a war. Lauren heard engines roaring somewhere above the ground, muffled but unmistakably close. Liam swiped an access card across a panel, and a hidden compartment in the wall slid open, revealing a sleek tactical case. "Liam, what are you doing?" she whispered, heart racing. Preparing, he said. They won't breach easily, but they'll try. He opened the case. It wasn't full of weapons, it was full of files, thick envelopes, hard drives, documents sealed with wax stamps. Lauren frowned. I thought you were getting ready to fight. I am. He grabbed several drives and slipped them into a small black bag. This is how you defeat people like them, not with bullets, with truth. She swallowed. What's on those drives? Liam's voice dropped. Everything. Illegal mining, environmental destruction, billions laundered overseas, entire communities displaced. My father, his partners, their offshore accounts, their real ownership structure, their network across Australia. She stared at the drives as if they were radioactive. If the public saw this, they'd burn in the sun, Liam said. Their empire would melt to ash. He zipped the bag and slung it across his chest. And that's why they'll do anything to stop me. Lauren stepped closer to him. Then tell me why I'm here. Liam looked at her for a long moment, something raw flickering in his eyes. Because you aren't just a witness, Lauren. You're the only person I trust to expose this if something happens to me. Her heart stopped. Liam, don't talk like that. I'm not planning to die, he said, voice controlled. But I need a contingency, someone pure, someone they can't buy, can't intimidate, can't turn. You think I'm pure? She whispered. I think, Liam said, stepping closer, you're the first real thing to cross my path in a decade. Before she could answer, a tremor rattled the metal ceiling. Dust fell from above. Lauren's pulse spiked. They're here, she breathed. Liam took her hand again. Then stay close to me. He led her through a second steel door, into a narrow maintenance tunnel lit by flickering bulbs. The sound of heavy boots echoed above them. Lauren imagined armed men sweeping through the compound, tearing apart rooms, smashing through doors. How did they find us so fast? She whispered. My father's money reaches everywhere, Liam muttered. Even people who owe me their loyalty. Meaning? Someone betrayed us. The words were ice. They emerged into a secondary chamber, a smaller room with old mining maps on the wall and a reinforced hatch at the center of the floor. Liam knelt and spun the locking wheel. The hatch slid open, revealing a vertical shaft with a ladder stretching into darkness. We're climbing down, he said. How far? 20 meters. She hesitated only a second. You go first. No, he said immediately. I'm not letting you climb blind into darkness. I'll go behind you. She climbed onto the ladder, gripping the cold metal rungs as Liam closed the hatch above them. The darkness swallowed them almost completely until Liam clicked on a small flashlight clipped to his shirt. Keep going, he murmured. Lauren descended rung after rung until her boots touched solid ground. A low tunnel stretched in front of them, carved decades ago during the first mining expansion. Liam dropped beside her. This is how my father used to move between sites without being seen, he explained quietly. Now we'll use it to escape him. They moved quickly, footsteps muffled on the packed dirt. The tunnel vibrated faintly as distant explosions went off above, breach charges against the upper doors. Lauren flinched. They really want us dead. They want me dead, Liam corrected. And you disappeared. She shivered. Why me? Because you're the one thing I care about that they can reach. Her breath caught. Liam didn't take it back, didn't soften it, didn't pretend it wasn't true. Liam, later, he whispered. When we're safe. They kept walking until the tunnel widened into a small, dimly lit cavern reinforced with steel beams. A dusty off-road vehicle sat waiting, as if stored for decades. Lauren stared. You keep a car underground? 2, he said, the others farther south. He opened the passenger door. Get in. She slid into the seat. Liam went around, only to freeze. Lauren's stomach twisted. Heavy footsteps echoed from behind them. Liam's eyes sharpened. He turned toward the darkness. Lauren, he said without looking at her. Lock the door. Liam, now! She obeyed instantly. A shadow emerged from the tunnel, then a second, then a third. Lauren's breath stopped, because she recognized the man in front, the man Liam had tried so hard to escape. His father, the mining titan, the billionaire mogul, a man whose name could move markets and topple governments. He stepped into the dim light, eyes cold as stone. "Liam," he said smoothly. "Going somewhere." Liam didn't flinch. Didn't blink, didn't breathe differently. "You shouldn't have come here," he said. His father smiled faintly. "On the contrary, you've taken something from me." His eyes drifted toward the car, toward Lauren. "And I've come to retrieve it." Lauren felt her entire body go cold. Liam stepped forward, blocking his father's line of sight. "She isn't yours to retrieve," he said. "She never was." His father's voice dropped into something terrifyingly calm. "Move, Liam." "No." The cavern held its breath. 3 men behind the Tycoon shifted their stance, hands near concealed weapons. Liam didn't step back, didn't waver, didn't even break eye contact. "You'll hurt her only if you kill me first," he said quietly. His father's smile sharpened. "That," he murmured, "was always the plan." Lauren gasped. Liam didn't move. He only whispered without looking back, "Lauren, no matter what happens, and do not get out of the car." Then the cavern exploded into chaos. Liam didn't hesitate. He lunged first. The cavern filled with the brutal echo of bodies colliding against cold rock, fists cracking through the dusty air, boots scraping against loose gravel. Lauren screamed his name through the windshield, but her voice was swallowed by the violence erupting only meters away. Liam hit the first man with a clean strike to the jaw, sending him crashing into the cave wall. The second swung a metal pipe. Liam dodged, the pipe clanging against stone, sparks flying. "Liam!" Lauren cried, fists against the locked window, helpless. Liam grabbed the attacker's arm, twisted hard, a bone snapped. The man collapsing to the ground with a howl. Liam didn't stop moving. He pivoted just in time to block a third man charging at him with a blade. The knife grazed Liam's arm, slicing through fabric, drawing blood. Lauren's heart shattered. "Liam, please." But then the billionaire Tycoon, his father, stepped forward, expression unchanged, as if watching a minor inconvenience unfold rather than a life-or-death fight. "You were always too sentimental," he said calmly. Liam ripped the knife from his attacker and flung it across the ground. "And you," he spat, "were always too monstrous." The billionaire smiled. "You learned from the best." He drew a gun from his coat. Lauren's scream tore out of her throat. Liam froze, not out of fear but calculation. The billionaire aimed directly at him. "Liam," he said, "step aside." "No." "Last warning." Liam stepped closer instead of back. The billionaire fired. The cavern cracked with the deafening blast. Lauren's vision blurred. Her lungs forgot to breathe. But the bullet didn't hit Liam. He had dodged by a razor's width, rolling across the ground, dirt exploding around him. The gun fired again. Sparks exploded from a steel beam behind him. "Lauren, don't look!" he shouted, but she couldn't tear her eyes away. Liam tackled his father, slamming him into a support column. The gun clanged onto the floor. They fought brutally, father versus son, years of rage exploding in every blow. The older man was strong, vicious, driven by greed and pride. Liam was stronger, fueled by something far more dangerous, purpose and love. "You ruined everything," his father bellowed, fists striking against Liam's ribs. "You were supposed to inherit my empire, not destroy it." "It was built on blood," Liam roared back, "and I'm ending it." He pinned his father, fists shaking with the weight of decades. "You won't touch her, you won't hurt her, you won't even breathe near her again." His father spat blood. "You think you can protect her?" "You can't even protect yourself." He shoved forward with surprising strength, sending both of them crashing into a metal scaffold. Lauren sobbed, beating her fists against the glass. "Liam, please get back in the car. Please." The struggle intensified, metal groaning under their weight. Then, a sharp crack. The scaffold snapped. They fell. Dust exploded around them. Silence. Then movement. Liam dragged himself up, coughing, wounded, but alive. His father didn't get up. Lauren's breath caught violently. Liam staggered toward the car, blood streaming down his arm. "Open the door," he said hoarsely. She fumbled the lock, tears streaming. He pulled himself into the driver's seat, slammed the door shut, and hit the ignition. "Liam, is he—" "Doesn't matter," Liam said through clenched teeth. "We're leaving." He floored the accelerator. The off-road vehicle shot down the tunnel as the cavern behind them rumbled, stones collapsing where the scaffold had torn loose. Lauren reached for him, touching his arm gently. "Liam, you're bleeding." He didn't look at her. "I've had worse. I'm scared." "I'm here," he whispered, finally meeting her eyes. "And I'm not losing you now." The tunnel's end appeared, a blast door. Liam punched a code into a hidden keypad. The door opened with a heavy groan. Sunlight exploded into the car. Freedom, but not safety. Not yet. Lauren looked at him, voice shaking. "Where do we go now?" Liam tightened his grip on the wheel. "To end this," he said. "Once and for all." His eyes softened. "And when it's over," his voice broke, just a little. "You're not going back to your old life. You're coming with me." Lauren's heart stilled. "And if I choose not to?" Liam looked at her like she was the only thing left worth surviving for. "Then I'll spend the rest of my life earning the right to ask you again." She couldn't speak. She didn't need to. The car shot forward into the blinding desert sun. "Oh, ChatGPT, dice." The 4WD roared across the open desert, dust spiraling behind them like a comet tail, as Liam pushed the engine harder than it was ever designed to go. Lauren clutched the handle above her seat, her pulse matching every violent jolt of the tires across the uneven red earth. She kept stealing glances at him, the blood drying on his arm, the bruises forming across his jaw, the way he blinked too slowly, fighting pain and exhaustion. "Liam," she whispered, "you need a hospital." "Later. You're losing blood." "I've lost worse." His voice was steady, but his hands trembled on the wheel. "You're lying," she murmured. His lips twitched faintly. "Yeah." She reached for him, her hand covering his. "Liam, please." He didn't pull away. He let her touch him, grounding him, sharpening his focus. "We're almost there," he said. "Almost where?" "Kalgoorlie, the media station." Her breath hitched. "You're going to release the files publicly?" "Everything," he said. "Once they're out, no one can bury the truth again." "But what if they're waiting there?" "They will be," he said simply. "Then why go?" He looked over at her, a look that held far more than words. "Because if I don't end this now, they'll never stop hunting you." Her chest tightened painfully. "Liam." But then, a helicopter shadow swept over the car. Lauren's blood froze. Liam cursed under his breath. "They're faster than I expected." The helicopter descended, its blades whipping up towering cyclones of dust. A spotlight blasted through the windshield, blinding them. "Get down," Liam shouted. She ducked just as the helicopter's loudspeaker boomed across the desert. "Stop the vehicle now!" Liam didn't stop. He rammed the accelerator so hard the engine screamed. The helicopter angled lower, too low. A warning burst of gunfire sprayed the sand in front of the car. Lauren screamed. Liam swerved hard, barely avoiding the impact. "They're trying to disable us," she cried. "No," Liam said through clenched teeth. "They're trying to kill us." The helicopter descended even lower, and then a second sound echoed through the sky. Another rotor, another helicopter. Lauren stared upward in disbelief. Who is that?" Liam squinted. "That's not them." The second helicopter swooped into view, sleek, silver, marked with a corporate logo Lauren recognized instantly. The logo everyone in Western Australia knew, the one with more power than half the mining sector combined, Ridgewell Industries. Is that... Yes, Liam said. Your family. She gasped. My family. But I didn't call anyone. You didn't have to, Liam murmured. Your uncle must have seen the threat when the story reached the environmental board. The two helicopters clashed in the sky, the corporate aircraft blocking shots, forcing the attackers back, shielding Liam and Lauren with sheer aerial dominance. Lauren, he said softly, I think your life just got a lot more complicated. She let out a shaky laugh. You think? The Ridgewell helicopter lowered until the pilot signaled them toward a rocky overhang near an abandoned service station. He's giving us a landing window, Liam said. Hold on. He skidded the 4WD toward the cover of the rocks just as the attacking helicopter fired again, but the Ridgewell pilot countered, forcing them to retreat. Liam leapt out of the car and ran around to her door. Lauren, come on. She grabbed his hand, jumping out just as dust exploded behind them from another warning shot. Liam shielded her with his body, pushing her up the incline toward the waiting rescue aircraft. The Ridgewell pilot shouted over the blades, Hurry! Lauren climbed into the helicopter, turning back just as Liam staggered, his injured arm finally giving out. Liam! She reached for him, grabbing his jacket with both hands and hauling him inside. The door slammed. Go, she screamed to the pilot. The helicopter launched upward, leaving the dust, the danger, and the collapsing underground war behind them. Liam slumped against her, struggling to stay awake as she held him, her hands trembling. Liam, stay with me, please. He blinked slowly, forcing focus. Did we make it? Yes, she whispered. We made it. He exhaled, letting his head fall lightly onto her shoulder. Good, he murmured, because I still need to ask you something. Her breath caught. What? His eyes met hers, tired, bruised, but alive. When this is over, will you stay with me? Tears blurred her vision. I told you before, she whispered, cupping his jaw gently. You don't have to earn the right to ask. His breath trembled. So that's a yes? She kissed his forehead, soft and broken, and full of everything she had meant to say for days. It's a yes. Liam closed his eyes, not from weakness, but from relief so deep it shook his entire body. Good, he breathed. Because I can survive anything, as long as you're beside me. The helicopter soared toward Kalgoorlie, toward the truth.